I'm a 21-year-old online coach, and pretty much my whole life up until now, my dream was always to move to Miami when I finally got money. I was going to, drop everything I know here, leave my hometown, leave everything behind, and go move to Miami to be around people who were like-minded doing the same thing as me. And all of that sounded great until about now, until I realized, and truly saw things for what they are, and God gave me a whole new heart and perspective on everything. That was my dream 2 years ago when I was writing in my journal, kind of manifesting everything that I'm living in right now. And the only thing that didn't happen was me moving. I could have moved months ago if I truly wanted to, but I chose not to because I felt in my heart that God was leading me towards something else. And I've never been about the money, the material, the possessions. That's not why I got into this. That's not what I'm chasing after. And that's what turned me away, was everything I see online. All these Miami dudes who, they leave their hometown, they drop everything, they leave everything behind, and they just pick up and they go and they move to Miami, and then it's just this fast lane, road to success life where they're just trying to buy car after car, get their penthouse, and live this crazy successful lifestyle. But to me, that's miserable. To me, that's being empty on the inside, because what they don't realize is no matter what they buy, no matter what things they get, they're never going to be truly satisfied. You see, none of this means anything without God, and that's the biggest lesson I've learned. And the more and more you chase these material things, that's why you see all these guys who live in Miami. Why do you think they have to buy so many cars? Why do you think they're buying watch after watch and all this different material? Because whatever they buy, eventually it leaves them empty on the inside, and they need to chase that next high with buying the next thing. And it's a never-ending cycle. And I learned this very, very quickly early on in my entrepreneurship journey. And God taught me the most valuable lesson of all is, all these blessings are great, but the second you put these blessings above Him, you will be empty, because none of this means anything without God. Me buying this car was awesome. It was great. It's a trophy of my hard work, so to speak. It's a huge blessing in my life, and I'm very thankful. But the second I put this car above God, the second that I put more time into this car, and when I first got it, the first 2 weeks to a month, I was so happy. I wanted to drive it every single day. I constantly wanted to use it. And then that high wore off. And I was just left with the fact that, oh, this is just a normal car now. It doesn't bring me that same joy when I get in it. It doesn't continue to make me happy. It doesn't fill that void. And I realized I was missing God. It's the same thing with money. It doesn't matter how much money I make. I've always had this perspective of like, okay, once I make this certain amount of money, I'll finally be happy and that'll be it. I'll never have to worry about anything again. And then you get there and you realize, oh, this isn't really what I thought. Now I want that next high. I want that, next big mark of money that I want to make, and then that's what you work towards. And you realize that this is a game of just never-ending highs. If you're not filling that void with Jesus, if you're constantly trying to fill it with things of this world, you are going to be chasing a high and trying to fill a void that you are never going to be able to fill. That's why you see all these guys, they're buying thing after thing after thing, because they're constantly trying to seek for something that can fill that void that is not going to, whether it's through money, material, possessions, women, whatever it may be, drugs. They're never going to fill it. And I learned this very early on, and I'm so blessed and so fortunate that God has humbled me with all these lessons, because 2 months ago, I lost myself. I got to a point where I was working so hard on my business each and every single day that I was so focused on the money. I was so focused on trying to make more and more, and it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter how hard I worked. I was miserable. I was miserable. And I was lacking God, and my time with God, my relationship with God was lacking, and I found myself in the worst mental point of my life ever. I was so miserable, and it completely destroyed me. And it's through these dark times and through these moments that we realize our need for God, and it turns us back to Him. But I never got into this for the possessions or the money or the material, and that's why I made this conscious decision, because what's more important to me than anything I could acquire through money, what I value so much more than all of these things is my relationship with Jesus. is the woman who stuck by my side literally when I had nothing and I was broke as shit delivering pizza, and she saw the man I was and she still chose to love me regardless of me not having anything to offer her. The woman who stuck with me through everything. My family, my mom, who literally at one point had to work 3 jobs while I was delivering pizza and I couldn't afford to pay my own bills. So she was not only working 3 jobs, struggling to pay her bills and everyone else's bills, but also had to help out on my bills on top of that. And I couldn't do a damn thing because I was broke, not making enough money delivering pizza, trying to just post my content and build this dream life that I had. There's so many things that, you realize this stuff doesn't mean anything. I got into this because I'm just a normal ass kid who all I cared about my whole life was the gym and building this physique. And I just wanted a job to be able to impact people, inspire others, make an impact in other people's lives, and truly just get paid to do what I love, work for myself, and build this financial freedom to where I can enjoy life and do whatever I want and not be slaved at a 9-to-5 job that I hated every single day of the week. That's all I wanted. I don't care about the cars. I don't care about the watches. I don't care about millions and millions of dollars in the bank. No, I just wanted to be free. I just wanted to be free. And now I feel an even bigger calling to show people the reality of this. Show people that it's not about the cars. It's not about the money. It's not about the material. None of this means anything without God. I can promise you guys, if you were just chasing this high, it is never going to end. It doesn't matter what you acquire. It doesn't matter how much money you make. You are going to be chasing a high that is never going to end. What does it benefit you? What does it benefit you to gain all of this status, all of this success in this life, to lose your own soul in the process? What does it benefit you? This world is nothing. This is literally not even a grain of salt compared to what our life is here. It is a tiny, tiny, tiny grain of salt compared to eternity. This life doesn't matter. As much as we think it matters right now, as much as we get so consumed and wrapped up in it, eternity is forever. And eternity is a long time to be wrong here on earth and make the wrong decisions and not truly give your heart to Jesus. I'm telling you guys, it's not a life worth living. I've been there. And I'm just a simple dude. I took the biggest risk of my life and dropped out of college. I went against, what everyone else was doing, and I saw this vision that God had placed in my heart for my life, and it was through all the battles, all the struggles, all the trials, all the hard times that truly brought me closer to God and strengthened my faith in the process. And once I gave my life to Jesus, November 3rd, 2023, 8:20 p.m. on a Friday night, that's when everything changed. And all the blessings that I had been praying for so long had finally started to slowly get manifested. But I've been on both sides. I've been at a point to where I was first reborn and all I cared about was God. I had this craving for God. I literally wanted nothing but to spend time with Him each and every single day. And I was the brokest I ever was in my life. Everything on paper, worst situation I've ever been in my whole life. But nothing mattered because I was the happiest I ever was. The happiest I ever was. And nothing mattered. Now, fast forward, a year later to where I'm living in all the blessings I prayed for. I have a super blessed life. I'm living my dream job. I have financial freedom. I could buy nice things. I've learned when I forget about God and I leave Him behind and I distance myself and I chase all these things instead and I put these blessings above Him, it leaves me absolutely miserable. Absolutely miserable. And I've been learning the same lesson time and time again, and it just doesn't make sense to me to give up everything I value here and everything I have to go try to live this life in Miami where I know how it ends. I know how it goes. I'm not saying everyone in Miami lives like that, but there are a lot of temptations, and that's just not an environment or an atmosphere that I want to be a part of. I'm moving out within 2 to 3 months, and I'm going to get a place with my girl. the one who stuck with me when I had nothing, and I am going to support her in her journey of her career while I'm building my business, and truly, start working towards building the future family and the future life that I want to have, because that's way more important to me than any of this. I want to continue to grow with God and become the man that God has called me to be. I want to continue to build out my dream life, build my financial freedom, and build a life for my future family that I didn't have growing up, for my kids and my family. Like, give them things that I didn't have that I wish I had growing up. There's so much more than just going to chase all this material. There's so much more to life. And I want to be the man who God has called me to be. I want to stay on God's path because I know His plans are so much better than my own. And if I choose to follow my own plans, I will destroy myself in the process, because I've learned that lesson time and time again. Because I don't have it all figured out. That was the reason I was reborn, because I came to the conclusion that, okay, I don't have everything figured out. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't live this life relying on my own strength. And that's what pointed me in the direction to Jesus. And everything changed since there. No, I'm not perfect. Yes, I still fail every day. But the change God has made in my life, and the change He's made in who the man I am today, has been undeniable. The man who God has made me to be and what I've grown into is undeniable, the work that God has done in my life. And I prayed to God. I said, when I have a platform and people start to know my name and people start to know who I am, and I have the ability to make an impact in people's lives, I told God that everyone was going to know it was Him. Because everything you see now, everything I have, the man I am now, the life that I have, the possessions that I have, the things I've acquired, was never my own doing. Not a single part of it. God got me through moments that I was not able to get through on my own. God opened doors that I was not able to open on my own, and He ultimately got me here. Yes, I worked my ass off. Yes, I put in work, but God steered in my direction. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know how I was going to do all this. When I invested into my business and my first mentor, I didn't have the money to do that. But God wasn't asking me for my finances. God wasn't asking me to figure out, okay, where do I need to go? How am I going to do this? What do I need to do? No. God was asking me to trust Him. And He made a way. When it literally seemed impossible, God still made a way. And what matters most to me, apart from any of this, is just doing God's will and following the path that God wants for my life. I don't care. I want financial freedom, and I want to build a great life for myself and my future family. I want to make a shitload of money and stay as normal as I possibly can. Because this is never going to change me. At the end of the day, I'm a Christian who was reborn, who's passionate about the gym, who loves personal development, who loves working on himself. And I'm just trying to become the best man that I can be, the man that God has called me to be, to inspire hundreds of thousands of people and show them that there's a different side of this. You don't need to get consumed in what you're seeing online, because I can promise you all these Miami dudes who are living this crazy lifestyle that may seem, really cool on the outside, I can promise you guys that if they don't have Jesus, all of them are empty. And that's why it never stops. That's why you see them constantly buying the next bigger and better thing, because they're chasing this high that's never going to end. I can promise you they are still empty on the inside, because they're trying to fill a void that only God can fill. I'm telling you guys, you don't need to think that, just because you start a business and you start making money, you don't have to just completely forget who you are and go chase this crazy lifestyle. No, I'm telling you the opposite. You can still build financial freedom. You can still build your dream life and the life you want to have, while still valuing your relationship with Jesus, while still following the man who Jesus wants you to become, while staying with the same girl and building a future with her, while supporting your family and taking care of your parents and the people that you love, while being able to stay in your hometown and stay close to everyone and not just, make a lot of money and then ditch your friends who you grew up with. I love my friends. Do they have the same exact mindset as me? No. Do they have different values? Yes. but I still love my friends who I grew up with. And just because I made a little bit of money, and just because I'm, you know, maybe on paper doing better than them, I don't put myself above them. I don't care. I don't need that ego of just because I make money that I'm just better than everyone else, because that's not the case. Jesus sees everyone as equal. We're all human beings and we're all valuable. It doesn't matter what you have in this earth. What does it matter if you're a millionaire with 20 cars and, 5 houses just to lose your soul in the process? It doesn't. I still love my friends. I still hang out with them. I'm still the same dude I was a year ago when I was dead broke. The only thing that changed is my values, and that I just have a little bit more money now and I'm doing something I love. That's it. That's it. But the money doesn't have to change who you are. Because the second that gets to your head, the second you let your ego take over and you think you're on top of the world, I'm telling you, the higher the height of your success, the greater the fall will be from the top. I'm telling you guys, do not neglect God. Do not put any of this stuff above God. I'm telling you, when you seek the kingdom first and you seek a relationship with God and you put him first in everything you do, he will take care of you. All these blessings will be added to you. But I can promise you guys, when you put your faith in these blessings and you put these blessings above God, you will lose yourself in the process and you will be miserable. I'm the same dude I was 2 years ago. Nothing's changed. And I see my vision clear. I want to build this above average life for myself and, build my financial freedom and make a lot of money to support the people I love, stay with the same girl I've been with for over a year, and continue to take care of the people I love, make an impact, and build, this amazing life for myself that God has for me. It's all glory to him. I wouldn't be here without him. I wouldn't be who I am without God. None of this means anything without him. I'm telling you guys, don't get lost in it. It's not worth it. It's not worth selling your own soul. You can still have great things and great blessings while still honoring God in the process. Because you'll come to realize one day that this stuff doesn't truly make you happy. God is the only thing that will, and he is the only thing that can fill that void in your heart. You're going to search everywhere else in the world for it, but the answer is right in front of you. Never neglect that. Take it from me. I've been on both sides. I know what it's like. I've lived both ends. This stuff doesn't mean anything. I have everything I ever wanted, everything I ever prayed for. And I can assure you that I would trade all of this for Jesus. If Jesus told me right now, give all this up and you can come be with me, I'm there. I'd do it in a heartbeat. Because this car isn't my life. This money isn't my life. This job isn't my life. Jesus is. And that needs to be the center of my focus and the center of my heart. Because I know this stuff will never fulfill me and it'll never make me happy. Only God can. And he's proven that to me time and time again. I'm not perfect. I still get lost at times. And he humbles me over and over again. I'm very thankful for his mercy and his grace. There's no one like Jesus. No one. I can assure you guys, there's a way. There's a way to still build a great life and freedom for yourself while honoring God. And that's what I'm here to preach. That's what I'm after. And I want you guys to know that there's a way you can do it. You don't have to fall into this trap of this worldly race to success, fast lane lifestyle.